the Western world has very little exposure to Asia and the lifestyle that exists there. We have no idea what's going on in North Korea, also known as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Since the armistice of the Korean War in 1953, North Korea has been quite pleased to keep its people away from the outside world. The country is so closed off and ruled by megalomaniacs and paranoid leaders that the only descriptions of what happens there come from spies and terrifying accounts from defectors. Everything that is known about North Korea is what its government allows. Next, here are the 15 strangest things found only in North Korea. Number 1. The women who move through the traffic in the bustling streets of Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea, create a unique and captivating image that has caught the attention of both visitors and locals alike. Impeccably dressed young women directing traffic. These women, formerly known as traffic security agents, have been part of the urban landscape of Pyongyang since the 1980s. They are selected from the ranks of the country's police force based on specific criteria like age, height, and physical appearance. Candidates must be between 16 and 26 years old and have an attractive and pleasant appearance. In addition to these requirements, they must also demonstrate loyalty to the ruling party, have clean family backgrounds, and be single. Once selected, the traffic ladies undergo rigorous training to master the various signals and hand gestures used to direct traffic. Their movements are marked by precision, fluidity, and grace as they effortlessly guide cars, buses, and bicycles through the busy intersections of the city. They are equipped with batons, whistles, and traffic paddles to help them do their job, and they rotate positions every 30 minutes to stay alert and focused. The traffic agents are an iconic symbol of the unique blend of authority, beauty, and order in North Korea. They are a source of pride for the country and play an important role in maintaining safety and order on the streets. The traffic agents in Pyongyang wear functional and visually appealing uniforms, representing discipline, public service, and duty. They work long hours in tough conditions and are a source of fascination for foreign visitors. They are a captivating embodiment of the unique blend of authority, order, and beauty in North Korea. The 3 generations punishment policy affects the accused and their family up to 3 generations. It's one of the most disturbing aspects of North Korean society. The 3-gen punishment is part of North Korea's political repression by the country's founding leader, Kim Il-sung. This program, which is based on the emphasis the country places on conformity and group responsibility, is a powerful tool for control and repression by the ruling regime. North Korea's 3 generations punishment program was part of its political repression under Kim Il-sung. The theory suggests a person's actions reflect their family's moral and political values. Thus, if accused of a political crime, their family could also be punished. The theory in question holds that a person's activities, especially those considered crimes against the state or its leaders, reflect the moral and political values of his or her entire family. As a result, when someone is accused of a political crime, their parents, children, and even grandchildren could also face punishment. The 3-generation policy provides for harsh penalties ranging from public executions to imprisonment. In labor camps, where inmates suffer torture, forced labor, hunger, and disease. Families of the accused are often forcibly relocated to these camps, where they may spend the rest of their lives. This approach effectively stifles dissent and opposition to the dictatorship because people are afraid of what could happen to their loved ones if they are found to be disloyal. The North Korean government maintains a high level of control over the population and suppresses any potential threat to its authority. For those who manage to escape, instilling a deep sense of fear and paranoia among its inhabitants. The 3-generation rule of punishment still serves as a chilling reminder of the evils and cruelties inflicted on their families. Defectors often share terrifying stories about the time they spent in labor camps, the separation from their loved ones, and the realization that their families still suffer as a result of their escape. Number 3. The fake city in the demilitarized zone of Korea, an apparently typical village called Kijeonggong, is also known as the propaganda village. Even though it's completely deserted, it serves as a facade for the development and prosperity of North Korea in the south. In the 1950s, the peninsula was divided into North and South due to the Korean War, which inspired the creation of this strange structure. The purpose of Kijongdong was to use the promise of a better life to lure defectors from the South as part of a psychological warfare strategy. From a distance, Kijongdong looks like a modern village, with school buildings, apartment complexes, and even a hospital. The vibrant exteriors of the buildings and their constant upkeep give the impression that the village is inhabited. However, a closer look reveals that the structures are nothing more than empty concrete shells with painted windows and no signs of life within their walls. The government keeps everything up to date. The village, a ghost town that even goes so far as to turn lights on and off to mimic activity, has become a symbol of North Korea's obsession with image and control, as it gives the outside world the impression that the country is making progress despite its lack of real advancement. The chilling emptiness of Kijongdong is a crucial component of North Korean propaganda. In addition to this barrage of noises, Kijongdong is home to one of the tallest flagpoles in the world, standing at 160 meters high and proudly flying the North Korean flag. This imposing building is a testament to the country's determination to assert its power and presence in the area. The heavily fortified DMZ, where Kijongdong is located, stretches for 250 kilometers across the Korean peninsula and serves as a buffer zone between the two Koreas. However, ironically, due to the sparse human population in the area, it has become a refuge for animals. Kijongdong is a mysterious village that stands as a reminder of the ongoing hostilities between the North and the South. It's not the only fake city in North Korea, but it is the most well-known because of its prime location within the DMZ. Tourists visiting the DMZ often watch Kijongdong through binoculars, hoping to catch a glimpse of this mysterious village. The North Korean regime has a history of building elaborate facades, known as Potemkin villages, in an attempt to deceive others and project an image of prosperity and progress. This tactic aims to intimidate its adversaries, as well as to maintain the loyalty and support of its citizens by upholding the myth of a prosperous and powerful nation. Number 4. Korea's time zone, Pyongyang time, was set back 30 minutes in 2015 to differ from South Korea and Japan, distancing from Japan, its colonizer, from 1910 to 1945. North Korea set clocks back 30 minutes on August 15, 2015, creating a unique time zone. The switch to UTC+9 was to distance from Japan, which colonized Korea from 1910 to 1945. Previously, it shared the time zone with South Korea and Japan. The decision to switch to UTC+9 was declared by the North Korean government as a way to distance itself from Japan, which had colonized the Korean peninsula from 1910 to 1945. Previously, North Korea shared this time zone with South Korea and Japan. North Korea tried to express its national identity and independence while symbolically erasing the effects of Japanese imperialism by reverting to a time zone that was in use before Japanese colonization for the country and its relations with the outside world. For example, the adoption of Pyongyang time has had a number of practical repercussions. Businesses and organizations operating on the Korean peninsula have experienced difficulties as a result of North Korea's time difference, having to adjust their schedules and communications to account for the time difference. International travelers have also faced difficulties due to the time zone change, as they need to account for the 30-minute difference when booking flights, trains, and other modes of transportation. Number 5. The Ryugyong Hotel. The Ryugyong Hotel is a 105-story skyscraper in Pyongyang, North Korea, that has been under construction since 1987. The construction of what was supposed to be the tallest hotel in the world was halted in 1992 due to financial issues. The construction of what was supposed to be the tallest hotel in the world was halted in 1992 due to financial issues. The Ryugyong Hotel remains closed, and there are several theories as to why. Some claim that the structure of the skyscraper is weak and can't withstand natural disasters like earthquakes. The hotel's construction reportedly had numerous problems, including the use of poor quality materials, poor quality labor. These mentioned defects raise concerns about the stability and safety of the building, which could be the reason for the lack of visitors. Others argue that the opening of the hotel was delayed due to a lack of funding and the absence of a suitable foreign partner to oversee operations. Although the North Korean dictatorship has reached out to several luxury hotel groups, including Kempinski, no agreement has been reached. Finding a partner to manage the hotel seems to be difficult due to ongoing economic sanctions and limited international involvement. The amazing 3 rooms of the hotel and its variety of services, which include conference rooms and rotating restaurants, point to a grand concept that has yet to come to fruition. The Ryujeon Hotel continues to intrigue observers and offers a unique glimpse into the complexity of North Korea, regardless of whether the hotel will ever open its doors. Number 6. Ban on wearing jeans in Western clothing. North Korea has a state-controlled economy, and the government strictly regulates all aspects of life, including fashion. The country has a dress code that emphasizes conservative and modest clothing, with a preference for traditional Korean attire. North Koreans are expected to dress in a way that reflects the country's socialist values and promotes unity and conformity. Jeans and other Western clothing are considered symbols of capitalist culture, and are therefore not recommended. The North Korean government has also used restrictions on Western dress as a way to control the flow of information and ideas from outside the country. By limiting access to Western clothing, the government is able to limit exposure to Western culture and ideas, which it views as a threat to its overall socialist ideology. While there is no official ban on jeans and Western clothing in North Korea, the government discourages their use and limits their availability as a way to maintain control over its society and limit exposure to outside influences. Number 7. State-controlled haircuts. To maintain control over its citizens and uphold the regime's reputation, the state strictly regulates personal grooming and appearance. State-approved haircuts, which outline acceptable hairstyles for men and women in the country according to state regulations, are one of the strangest and most striking aspects of this control. These hairstyles vary in style but are often short and modest, with longer hair seen as a symbol of capitalist decay and moral corruption. Men typically sport short, neat haircuts, with hair not exceeding 5 centimeters above the ears. One of the most popular hairstyles among men in North Korea is the one worn by the country's leader, Kim Jong Un. Men typically sport short, neat haircuts, with hair not exceeding 5 centimeters above the ears. One of the most popular hairstyles among men in North Korea is the one worn by the country's leader, Kim Jong Un. Although it's not developed for women, acceptable hairstyles depend on factors like age and marital status. Married women are allowed to wear a restricted amount of hair ornaments and may have slightly longer hair than unmarried women, while unmarried women are required to keep their hair slightly short and modest. In general, women are not supposed to dye their hair or get perms, as these trends are believed to be influenced by Western culture and pose a threat to the country's ideological purity. The state enforces its mandatory haircuts through frequent inspections and initiatives launched by local community organizations and government representatives. Beauty salons and barbershops must display signs and photographs of approved hairstyles, and those who don't risk facing serious penalties or even public humiliation. Number 8 is the cult of personality and the eternal leaders. The cult of personality surrounding the ruling Kim family in North Korean society is one of its defining features. The regime has meticulously created and maintained veneration and mythology around its Yuuzhan leaders over the past 7 decades, depicting them as divine beings and eternal guardians of the nation. This cult of personality, which permeates every aspect of daily life in North Korea, serves as a means of social and political control and reflects the country's unique political and social environment. At the core of this cult of personality, known as the Great Leader or Eternal President, is Kim Il-sung, the founder of the country. He is regarded as a godlike figure who founded and elevated the nation all on his own. At the core of this cult of personality, known as the Great Leader or Eternal President, is Kim Il-sung, the founder of the country. He is regarded as a godlike figure who founded and elevated the country all on his own. His images are displayed on public structures, monuments, and residences, and the nation's political philosophy, known as Jew, is based on the beliefs and philosophies he espouses. His successors, Kim Jong-il, the beloved leader and eternal general secretary, and Kim Jong Un, the current leader of North Korea, are also highly respected. The Kim dynasty is the subject of a complex and comprehensive mythology, including tales of their births, lives, and achievements that are both supernatural and miraculous. For example, it's said that Kim Jong Il was born under a double rainbow, could control the weather, and never needed to use the bathroom. It's also said that Kim Jong Un could drive a car at the age of 3. Number 9. North Koreans deal with computer systems, primarily. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea strictly regulates and supervises its citizens' access to information. To own a computer, you need special authorization from the government, and each computer is registered with the police as if it were a potentially lethal weapon. The internet in Korea is different from the rest of the world, as only a small fraction of the population uses computer labs in offices, universities, and internet cafes in the big cities. Kwangmaeon, also known as Bright Star, is a domestic intranet that runs on illegally imported Microsoft software and resembles the internet from 1994. Most people and institutions use this free network to access the internet, which provides global network access to a select group of users. However, since 2016, users have only been able to access fewer than 30 websites. An American engineer accidentally discovered the list of websites that North Korea allows its citizens to access, revealing that most of the content is propaganda, along with some recipes, North Korean movies, and government information about trade and tourism. Some academic institutions, like the Pyongyang University of Science and Technology, offer access to global internet, but access through this channel is controlled. Number 10. There is no religious freedom. The North Korean government is officially atheist and actively represses all forms of religion. The country's leaders promote a cult of personality around the ruling Kim family and the Yuchai ideology, which emphasizes self-sufficiency and loyalty to the state. The North Korean government sees any religious activity as a potential threat to its control over its citizens and the country as a whole. The government sees religion as a Western influence that clashes with its socialist ideology. 1. A potential source of dissent. Religious practices like attending church or participating in religious ceremonies are illegal in North Korea. It's known that the government arrests, detains, and even executes people for practicing their religion or expressing their religious beliefs. Christians and other religious minorities face particularly harsh persecution, and there are reports of people being imprisoned, tortured, or killed for their beliefs. The government also closely monitors its citizens for any signs of religious activity and promotes a culture of informants, encouraging people to report any suspicious behavior to the authorities. Overall, there is no religious freedom in North Korea, and the government actively suppresses all forms of religion to maintain its control over the country and its citizens. Number 11. The North Korean government does not allow freedom of movement. It strictly controls the movement of its citizens within the country and restricts their ability to travel outside of it. The government requires citizens to obtain a permit to travel within the country, and they must carry identification documents that indicate their place of residence and work. It strictly controls the movement of its citizens within the country and restricts their ability to travel outside of it. The government requires citizens to obtain a permit to travel within the country, and they must carry identification documents that indicate their place of residence and work. Traveling outside the assigned area without permission is illegal and can lead to severe punishments like imprisonment and forced labor. The government also restricts international travel, and most North Koreans are not allowed to leave the country. Only a small number of North Koreans are granted permission to travel abroad, and even then, the government closely monitors them. These restrictions on freedom of movement are part of the government's efforts to maintain control over its citizens and prevent the spread of information and ideas that it sees as a threat to its socialist ideology. The government sees freedom of movement as a potential source of dissent, a way for citizens to learn about the outside world and compare their living conditions with those of other countries. Number 12. Disrespect is punished. The North Korean government has strict laws and rules regarding the behavior and conduct of its citizens, including standards for showing respect to the country's leaders and symbols. In North Korea, disrespecting the symbols or ideology of the country's leaders can lead to severe punishments like imprisonment, forced labor, and even execution. For example, it's a crime to deface or damage images of the country's leaders, including statues, portraits, and other representations. The government also prohibits any kind of criticism or negative comments about the country's leaders or their policies. Additionally, the North Korean government requires citizens to participate in various public events and celebrations that promote loyalty to the state and its ideology. Not attending or participating in these events can also be seen as a sign of disrespect and can lead to punishment. These strict laws and rules about disrespect serve as a means for the government to maintain control over its citizens and promote loyalty to the state and its leaders. The government views any form of dissent or criticism as a potential threat to its power and takes measures to suppress it through strict laws and punishments. Number 13. Restricted radio waves. The North Korean government strictly controls all forms of media, including radio and television broadcasts. The country has a government media, where all media is government-run. The government strictly censors content to align with socialist ideology and promote state loyalty. Citizens only access government channels with propaganda. The government rigorously censors all content, ensuring that it is in line with the country's socialist ideology, SOS/EOS, and promotes loyalty to the state and its leaders. North Korean citizens can only listen to and watch state-controlled media channels that broadcast propaganda and state-approved content. The government prohibits citizens from accessing foreign media, including radio and television broadcasts from outside the country. The restrictions on radio waves, along with the government's strict control over all forms of media, serve to limit the flow of information and ideas from outside the country. The government sees unrestricted access to foreign media as a potential threat to its socialist ideology, a way for citizens to learn about the outside world and compare their living conditions with those of other countries. In summary, the North Korean government strictly controls all forms of media, including radio and television broadcasts, and restricts access to foreign media and the internet. These restrictions serve to limit the flow of information and ideas from outside the country and promote loyalty to the state and its leaders. Number 14. The suppression of K-pop in North Korea is known for its tight cultural control. Recently, K-pop became globally popular, even in nearby South Korea. The government has historically promoted traditional Korean music and art forms while restricting access to foreign cultural influences, including K-pop. In recent years, K-pop has gained popularity all over the world, even in South Korea, which is North Korea's neighboring country. However, the North Korean government is known to have suppressed K-pop within its borders, citing concerns over the influence of foreign culture on its citizens. The government fears that the popularity of K-pop and other forms of South Korean entertainment could lead to a loss of control over the minds of its citizens. Despite government efforts to crack down on K-pop and other forms of foreign entertainment, there have been reports of North Korean citizens secretly listening to and watching K-pop and other South Korean media. Some North Koreans have even been caught smuggling South Korean music and movies, risking severe punishment if they're discovered. Number 15. International calls are not allowed. Lastly, it's important to point out that international calls are heavily restricted in North Korea. The North Korean government strictly controls all forms of communication within the country, including phone access and the internet, and restricts access to information from outside. However, international calls can only be made with government permission, and the use of cell phones is heavily restricted. Only a very small percentage of the North Korean population has access to a mobile phone, and those who do are limited to making calls within the country and cannot access the internet or make international calls without government approval. The government also strictly controls the use of landlines, and international calls can only be made from designated phone lines that are closely monitored by the government. The high cost of international calls and the limited availability of international phone lines also make it difficult for most North Koreans to communicate with people outside the country.